The leather portfolio slipped from Richard Blackwood's trembling fingers as his eyes scanned the final page of client contracts, his face draining of all color when he realized the woman he had been trying to force out of his family's business was actually sitting on a multi-million-dollar empire that dwarfed his own construction company's annual revenue. The silence in his mahogany-paneled office stretched for what felt like an eternity before he whispered, "These numbers. They can't be real." Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Elena Rodriguez, and 18 months ago, I was standing in my father-in-law's office listening to him explain why I needed to do the right thing for the family and sign over controlling interest in my digital marketing agency to someone who could properly manage such a complex operation. The condescension in his voice was matched only by the absolute certainty in his eyes that I would comply with his demands, just as I had complied with so many other family expectations over the 5 years since I had married his son, David. The morning that would change everything started like any other Tuesday in our suburban Denver home. I was reviewing quarterly reports for Rodriguez Digital Solutions while David prepared for another day at Blackwood Construction, the family business that his father had built from a small residential contractor into one of Colorado's most respected commercial builders. The irony of our respective morning routines was lost on both of us at the time. I was analyzing growth metrics that would soon shock everyone who knew me, while David was preparing to work for a company that would pale in comparison to what I had quietly built over the previous 4 years. The call from Richard came at exactly 9:15, as I was finishing my review of client acquisition reports that showed we had landed 3 Fortune 500 accounts in the previous quarter alone. His voice carried the authoritative tone I had grown accustomed to over the years, the sound of a man who was used to having his instructions followed without question or delay. "Elena, I need you to come to the office this morning," he said without bothering with pleasantries or explanations. "There are some family business matters we need to discuss, and it's important that we handle them promptly and professionally." The phrasing was typical Richard Blackwood. Everything was either a family obligation or a business necessity, often both simultaneously, and his requests were always framed as reasonable requirements that any sensible person would immediately understand and accept. Over the years, I had learned to recognize this particular tone as the prelude to conversations where my own preferences and opinions would be considered secondary to whatever agenda he had developed. "Of course," I replied, closing my laptop, and mentally rearranging my schedule to accommodate whatever crisis or opportunity had prompted this summons. "Should David be there as well, or is this something you wanted to discuss privately?" "Just you and me," Richard answered, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice at having successfully orchestrated another family meeting where he would control both the agenda and the outcome. "This is a conversation that requires discretion and careful consideration of everyone's best interests." The 40-minute drive to Blackwood Construction's headquarters gave me time to consider what might have prompted this urgent meeting. Richard's conversations about family business matters typically involved either expansion opportunities for the construction company or discussions about David's future role in the organization. Occasionally, these meetings addressed financial planning or investment strategies that affected the extended family's collective wealth and security. What I had not anticipated was that this particular meeting would focus entirely on my own business activities and Richard's newly developed opinions about my competence and suitability for managing what he perceived as a small but potentially valuable digital marketing operation. Blackwood Construction occupied an impressive glass and steel building in downtown Denver's business district, a testament to Richard's success in transforming a family trade into a corporate enterprise. The lobby featured photographs of major projects the company had completed over the past 3 decades, from shopping centers and office complexes to hospitals and educational facilities. Every detail of the space was designed to communicate success, stability, and professional competence. Richard's corner office on the 8th floor commanded panoramic views of the Rocky Mountains and downtown Denver's skyline. The space was decorated with awards from industry organizations, photographs of groundbreaking ceremonies, and architectural drawings of signature projects that had established Blackwood Construction's reputation for quality and reliability. His massive oak desk dominated the room, positioned to ensure that visitors would be appropriately impressed by both the setting and the man who commanded it. "Elena, thank you for coming on such short notice," Richard said as I settled into one of the leather chairs arranged in front of his desk. "I wanted to discuss some concerns that have come to my attention regarding your little marketing business and how it fits into our family's overall financial planning and legacy considerations." The phrase "little marketing business" immediately set me on edge, though I maintained the composed expression that years of family gatherings had taught me to perfect when dealing with Richard's particular brand of benevolent condescension. Rodriguez Digital Solutions was hardly little by any reasonable metric, but I had learned that correcting Richard's assumptions often led to longer and more frustrating conversations than simply allowing him to state his position and then responding appropriately. "I'm always happy to discuss business matters," I replied, keeping my tone neutral while internally preparing for whatever proposal or demand he was about to present. "What specific concerns did you want to address?" Richard leaned back in his chair with the satisfied expression of someone who believed he was about to solve a complex problem through the application of superior wisdom and experience. "Elena, I want you to know that Sarah and I have tremendous respect for your initiative and entrepreneurial spirit. Starting your own business took courage, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished." The setup was classic Richard Blackwood. Begin with praise that established his magnanimity, while simultaneously positioning him as the authority figure qualified to evaluate and judge my accomplishments. Sarah, his wife and David's mother, had indeed expressed support for my business activities, though her understanding of what those activities involved was limited to general concepts about helping companies with their computer marketing. "However," Richard continued, and I knew that everything preceding this word had been merely diplomatic preamble to his actual agenda, "I've been observing your business activities over the past year, and I have some concerns about whether you're positioned to handle the growth and complexity that success in the digital marketing industry requires." The presumption implicit in his statement was breathtaking, that he had been observing my business activities as though he were a supervisor monitoring an employee's performance, and that his observations had revealed deficiencies that required his intervention to address. The fact that he had never asked me about my business operations, reviewed any of my financial statements, or demonstrated any understanding of the digital marketing industry made his confident assessment even more remarkable. "What specific aspects of the business concern you?" I asked, genuinely curious about what he thought he had observed and how he had reached conclusions about matters he had never investigated. Richard pulled out a yellow legal pad covered with handwritten notes, apparently the result of whatever research or analysis had led to this meeting. "First, there's the matter of client retention and relationship management. From what I can tell, you're handling everything yourself: sales, account management, project delivery, financial oversight. That's not sustainable as the business grows, and it creates significant risk if something happens to you." His first concern was actually a reasonable observation about the challenges of scaling a service business, though his assumption that I was handling everything myself revealed how little he actually knew about my operations. Rodriguez Digital Solutions currently employed 12 full-time staff members and worked with a network of specialized contractors for projects that required expertise beyond our core team's capabilities. Second, he continued, consulting his notes with the seriousness of a prosecutor presenting evidence, there's the question of financial management and growth capital. Small service businesses often struggle with cash flow management and lack the resources needed to pursue larger opportunities. Without proper capitalization and financial oversight, even successful small businesses can find themselves unable to compete effectively. Again, his concern reflected legitimate business challenges, but his assumption that my company lacked proper financial management or adequate capitalization demonstrated the extent to which his assessment was based on speculation rather than actual knowledge of our situation. Finally, Richard said, setting down his legal pad and fixing me with the earnest expression he used when delivering what he considered particularly important guidance. There's the matter of industry expertise and strategic vision. Digital marketing is becoming increasingly complex and competitive. Success requires not just technical skills, but deep understanding of market dynamics, regulatory requirements, and long-term industry trends. The implication that I lacked the expertise or strategic vision necessary to succeed in my own field was particularly galling, given that I had spent the previous 4 years building relationships with major clients and developing specialized capabilities that had positioned Rodriguez Digital Solutions as a leader in several niche markets. "I appreciate your concerns," I said, choosing my words carefully to avoid the confrontational tone that would give Richard an excuse to characterize my response as emotional or defensive. "Would you like me to address each of these points with specific information about how we handle these challenges?" Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Richard waved his hand dismissively, as though the details of my actual operations were less important than the broader principles he was attempting to establish. "Elena, I'm not questioning your competence or dedication. What I'm suggesting is that you might benefit from partnership with someone who has extensive experience managing complex business operations and who can provide the guidance and resources necessary for sustainable growth." The word partnership was clearly a euphemism for something else entirely, as became apparent when Richard opened his desk drawer and withdrew a folder containing what appeared to be legal documents prepared in advance of our conversation. "I've had our attorneys prepare a proposal that would transfer majority ownership of your business to a management structure that could provide the oversight and resources needed for successful expansion," he said, sliding the folder across his desk toward me. "You would retain a significant equity position and continue to handle the day-to-day operations, but major strategic decisions would be made by people with experience managing substantial business enterprises." The documents Richard presented represented a complete transfer of control over Rodriguez Digital Solutions to a holding company managed by Richard himself, with me retaining a 25% equity stake and employment as Chief Operations Manager, reporting to a board of directors that Richard would chair. The proposed arrangement would give me a steady salary, but would eliminate my authority over strategic decisions, major client relationships, and financial management. "Richard," I said, closing the folder and returning it to his side of the desk. "I think there may be some misunderstandings about the current state of my business that we should clarify before discussing any changes to its ownership or management structure." His expression shifted from confident expectation to mild annoyance, as though my failure to immediately embrace his proposal represented an unfortunate but predictable display of emotional attachment to a business that I was not qualified to manage independently. "Elena, I understand that this might be difficult to accept," he said, adopting the patient tone he used when explaining complex concepts to people he considered intellectually limited. "You've put tremendous effort into building this business, and it's natural to feel protective of what you've created. But sometimes the most caring thing we can do is recognize when we've reached the limits of our own capabilities." The patronizing quality of his response confirmed what I had suspected from the beginning of our conversation. Richard had already decided that I was incapable of managing a successful business, and that his intervention was necessary to protect both my interests and the family's financial security. The fact that he had prepared legal documents before our meeting demonstrated that he viewed this conversation as a formality rather than a genuine discussion of alternatives. "Before we continue, I said, reaching for my briefcase and withdrawing a leather portfolio that contained documents I had never expected to share with Richard. I think it would be helpful for you to understand exactly what we're discussing when we talk about Rodriguez Digital Solutions and its current operations. Richard's expression suggested mild curiosity mixed with the kind of indulgent patience adults show when children insist on explaining something that the adults already understand perfectly well. He clearly expected that whatever documents I was about to present would confirm his assessment of my business as a small but moderately successful operation that had reached the limits of what could be achieved without professional management. These are our client contracts for the current fiscal year, I said, opening the portfolio and placing the first document on his desk. I thought it might be useful for you to see the scope and scale of the relationships we're managing before we discuss any changes to our business structure. The first contract was with a major technology company that had engaged Rodriguez Digital Solutions to manage their North American digital marketing campaigns across multiple product lines. The annual value of this single contract exceeded the total revenue that Richard apparently believed my entire business generated. Richard's initial reaction was a slight frown as he processed the numbers on the first page, followed by a more pronounced expression of confusion as he realized that the figures he was seeing were significantly larger than anything he had anticipated. His confident demeanor began to show cracks as he turned through the pages and saw the scope of services we were providing and the premium rates we were commanding for our expertise. This contract alone is worth almost $2 million annually, I said, allowing him time to absorb the implications of what he was reading. And it's renewable for an additional 2 years with built-in rate increases tied to performance, metrics that we've consistently exceeded. I placed the second contract on his desk before he had finished processing the first. This agreement was with a major financial services firm that had hired us to manage their digital transformation initiative, including website redesign, customer acquisition campaigns, and data analytics implementation across their entire retail network. This engagement is structured as a multi-year strategic partnership worth approximately $3.7 million over the initial contract period, I continued, watching Richard's face as he struggled to reconcile what he was seeing with his assumptions about my business capabilities. We're currently ahead of schedule on all deliverables and have already been approached about expanding our role to include their commercial banking division. The third contract represented our largest single client relationship, a major retail corporation that had engaged Rodriguez Digital Solutions as their primary digital marketing agency after a competitive selection process that included several firms with national reputations and significantly larger staff counts. This contract has a base value of $4.2 million annually, with performance bonuses that could increase that figure by up to 30%, I explained, placing additional documents on Richard's desk as his expression shifted from confusion to something approaching disbelief. We're currently managing digital marketing campaigns in 43 states and 3 international markets, with a team structure that includes both our internal staff and strategic partnerships with specialized agencies. By the time I had presented contracts representing approximately $15 million in annual recurring revenue, Richard's confident posture had completely evaporated. His hands were trembling slightly as he turned through pages of client agreements, financial projections, and performance reports that painted a picture of a business operation far more substantial and sophisticated than anything he had imagined. "Elena," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "these numbers. How is this possible? When did your business grow to this scale?" The question revealed the fundamental flaw in Richard's entire approach to our conversation. He had assumed that he understood my business based on casual observations and family dinner conversations, without ever asking direct questions about our operations, reviewing our financial statements, or acknowledging that his knowledge of the digital marketing industry was limited at best. Rodriguez Digital Solutions has been growing steadily for the past 4 years, I replied, gathering the contracts and returning them to my portfolio. We've focused on building deep expertise in specific industry verticals and developing long-term relationships with clients who value strategic partnership over simple vendor relationships. Richard stared at the empty space on his desk where the contracts had been, his mind clearly struggling to process the implications of what he had just learned. The business he had been attempting to acquire control over was not the small marketing consultancy he had envisioned, but a substantial enterprise that generated more annual revenue than Blackwood Construction. "But how did we not know about this?" he asked, and for the first time in our conversation, his tone carried genuine confusion rather than condescending certainty. "How did you build something this substantial without anyone in the family understanding the scope of what you were creating?" The answer to his question revealed uncomfortable truths about family dynamics, assumptions about women's capabilities, and the tendency of successful people to assume that their expertise in one area qualifies them to evaluate performance in completely different fields. "Richard," I said, maintaining the respectful tone that our family relationship required while ensuring that my words carried the weight they deserved. "Over the past 5 years, every time I mentioned my business activities at family gatherings, the conversation was redirected to other topics or dismissed with comments about my little computer projects. When I tried to discuss major client wins or growth milestones, I was told that business talk was inappropriate for family occasions. The truth was that I had learned early in my marriage that the Blackwood family's interest in my professional activities was limited to general expressions of support that did not require them to understand or engage with the specifics of what I was actually accomplishing. They were proud of my entrepreneurial spirit in the abstract, but uninterested in the details of my success. Every time I offered to explain what Rodriguez Digital Solutions was becoming, or to share information about our growth and capabilities, I was told that family time should focus on family matters, I continued. The assumption seemed to be that my business was a hobby or side project that provided supplemental income rather than a serious professional enterprise. Richard's face had progressed from pale confusion to something approaching mortification as he realized that his attempt to acquire control over my business was not the generous intervention he had imagined, but rather an embarrassing display of ignorance about both my capabilities and the value of what I had built. "Elena, I had no idea," he said, and for the first time since I had known him, Richard Blackwood sounded genuinely humble. "If I had understood the scope of your success, I never would have suggested that you needed outside management or oversight." His apology was clearly sincere, but it also revealed the problematic assumptions that had led to this moment. Richard's willingness to interfere with my business had been based entirely on his belief that I was incapable of managing anything substantial or complex. Now that he understood the actual scale of my success, he was prepared to acknowledge my competence, but only because the evidence was too overwhelming to ignore. "I appreciate that," I replied, "but I think it's important for us to understand how we reached this point and what it tells us about communication within our family." The conversation that followed would reshape not only Richard's understanding of my capabilities, but the entire dynamic of how the Blackwood family approached discussions about business, success, and the contributions that different family members were making to the collective prosperity and reputation of our extended network. As I sat in Richard's office, surrounded by the symbols of his own considerable business success, I realized that this moment represented more than just a correction of his misconceptions about my company. It was an opportunity to establish a new foundation for our relationship based on mutual respect and accurate understanding rather than assumptions and outdated stereotypes about women's roles in business and family life. The portfolio of contracts sitting in my briefcase represented not just financial success, but the culmination of years of strategic planning, relationship building, and professional development that had been largely invisible to the people closest to me. The revelation of this success would force everyone in our family to reconsider their assumptions about my capabilities and ambitions, but it would also create opportunities for more authentic and productive relationships based on who I actually was rather than who they had assumed me to be. The story of how Rodriguez Digital Solutions evolved from a modest freelance operation into a multi-million-dollar enterprise began 4 years earlier in the spare bedroom of our first apartment, where I had established a makeshift office using a folding table, a refurbished laptop, and an overwhelming determination to prove that my business degree from Colorado State University could translate into real-world success. The initial catalyst for starting my own business had been frustration with the limited growth opportunities available at Morrison & Associates, the mid-sized marketing firm where I had worked as an account coordinator for 2 years after graduation. Despite consistently exceeding performance targets and receiving positive feedback from clients, I found myself relegated to supporting roles that offered little opportunity for strategic input or professional advancement. The breaking point came during a client presentation where my research and strategic recommendations formed the foundation of the proposal, but I was excluded from the meeting because the client had specifically requested that only senior-level staff participate in the discussion. Watching my ideas presented by colleagues who had contributed nothing to their development, while I remained in the office answering phones and scheduling appointments, crystallized my understanding that advancement within traditional agency structures would require patience and politics that I was unwilling to invest. The decision to launch Rodriguez Digital Solutions was driven by practical necessity as much as entrepreneurial ambition. David and I were planning our wedding, and the additional income from freelance projects would help offset the costs of establishing our new household while also providing me with the professional autonomy that traditional employment had failed to deliver. My initial business plan was modest but realistic, projecting that I could replace my agency salary within 18 months while building a client base that would support long-term growth. The first 6 months of independent operation were characterized by the kind of grinding persistence that defines most successful entrepreneurial ventures. I worked 16-hour days, handling everything from initial client outreach and proposal development to project execution and invoicing. My client base consisted primarily of small local businesses that needed affordable marketing support, but lacked the budgets for established agencies with substantial overhead costs and premium pricing structures. My breakthrough came through an unexpected connection with Margaret Chen, the marketing director for a mid-sized software company that specialized in inventory management solutions for retail businesses. Margaret had been referred to me by a mutual acquaintance who thought my background in both traditional marketing and emerging digital strategies might be relevant to a specific project the software company was considering. The initial project was relatively straightforward, developing a content marketing strategy to support the launch of a new product line targeting small retail businesses. However, Margaret's approach to the engagement differed significantly from my previous client. Relationships. Instead of simply requesting deliverables based on predetermined specifications, she invited me to participate in strategic planning discussions and asked detailed questions about market research methodologies and campaign measurement approaches. Margaret's recognition of my strategic capabilities led to an expanded project scope that included comprehensive market analysis, competitive intelligence gathering, and the development of integrated marketing campaigns across multiple channels. More importantly, her willingness to treat me as a strategic partner rather than a vendor established a template for the kind of client relationships that would become the foundation of Rodriguez Digital Solutions' long-term success. The software company engagement generated results that exceeded both our expectations and industry benchmarks for similar campaigns. The content marketing strategy we developed increased qualified lead generation by 47% in the first quarter, while the integrated digital campaigns achieved conversion rates that were nearly double the industry average for technology companies targeting small business markets. Margaret's satisfaction with our collaboration led to her recommending Rodriguez Digital Solutions to colleagues at other companies, creating a referral network that would prove invaluable for future business development. More significantly, Her detailed testimonials about our strategic capabilities and results-driven approach provided credibility that helped us compete successfully for larger projects with more established competitors. The second major milestone in our growth trajectory came through a competitive proposal process for a major financial services firm that was seeking support for a comprehensive digital transformation initiative. The opportunity represented a quantum leap in both project scope and client sophistication, requiring capabilities that I had never previously demonstrated, but was confident I could develop or acquire through strategic partnerships. The proposal development process required 3 weeks of intensive research and planning, during which I collaborated with specialized contractors to ensure that our team could deliver expertise in areas where my own knowledge was limited. The resulting proposal outlined a comprehensive approach to website redesign, customer experience optimization, data analytics implementation, and multi-channel marketing campaign management. Our success in winning this engagement was attributable to several factors that differentiated our approach from larger competitors. First, our proposal demonstrated deep understanding of the client's specific industry challenges and regulatory requirements, rather than presenting generic solutions that would require extensive customization. Second, our team structure offered direct access to senior-level expertise without the layers of account management that typically characterize large agency relationships. Third, our pricing structure provided significant value compared to established firms while maintaining healthy margins that would support quality execution. The financial services engagement established Rodriguez Digital Solutions as a credible partner for complex, high-value projects, while also providing the capital necessary for strategic investments in staff expansion, technology infrastructure, and business development activities. More importantly, the successful execution of this project created a case study that would prove instrumental in securing additional clients with similar requirements and budgets. The transition from individual contributor to business owner required developing capabilities in areas that had never been part of my formal education or professional experience. Financial management, human resources administration, legal compliance, and strategic planning all became daily responsibilities that required either rapid learning or strategic delegation to qualified specialists. The decision to invest in professional development rather than simply learning through trial and error proved crucial for maintaining the quality and reliability that larger clients expected from their strategic partners. I enrolled in executive education programs focused on business strategy and operations management, while also participating in industry conferences and professional organizations that provided access to best practices and emerging trends. The most challenging aspect of scaling the business was learning to delegate responsibilities that I had previously handled personally while maintaining the quality standards and client relationships that had established our reputation. Hiring. Our first full-time employee required developing job descriptions, compensation structures, and performance management systems that would support both individual success and organizational growth. Sarah Martinez joined Rodriguez Digital Solutions as our first account manager, bringing experience from a large advertising agency, along with specialized expertise in campaign analytics and performance optimization. Her addition to the team allowed me to focus more heavily on business development and strategic planning, while ensuring that existing clients continued to receive the attention and support they expected. The decision to hire Sarah represented a philosophical shift from viewing Rodriguez Digital Solutions as an extension of my individual capabilities to understanding it as an organization with its own identity, culture, and potential for growth, beyond what any single person could achieve. This transformation required developing new skills in leadership, team building, and organizational design that were fundamentally different from the technical marketing expertise that had originally attracted clients to our services. The third major inflection point in our growth trajectory came through an unexpected opportunity to participate in a competitive selection process for a major retail corporation's digital marketing account. The opportunity arose through a referral from our financial services client, whose parent company had business relationships with the retail corporation's leadership team. The retail account represented everything we had been working toward: a sophisticated client with substantial budget authority, complex requirements that matched our developing capabilities, and the potential for long-term partnership that could provide stability and growth opportunities for years to come. However, the competitive process also represented our greatest challenge to date, as we would be competing against agencies with national reputations, larger teams, and significantly more resources. Our approach to the competitive presentation focused on demonstrating specific expertise relevant to the retail industry's unique challenges, rather than attempting to match larger competitors on breadth of capabilities or geographic presence. We developed detailed case studies showing how our strategies had driven measurable results for clients in similar situations, while also presenting innovative approaches to emerging opportunities in mobile commerce and social media marketing. The presentation itself required coordination among our entire team, with each member contributing specialized expertise to different aspects of the proposed strategy. Sarah presented our analytics and performance measurement approaches, while I focused on strategic overview and industry-specific insights. Our technology partner demonstrated the capabilities of our campaign management platform, while our creative contractor presented examples of content and design work that illustrated our aesthetic sensibilities and brand positioning skills. The Retail Corporation's decision to select Rodriguez Digital Solutions over several larger and more established competitors validated our strategy of competing on expertise and results, rather than attempting to match larger firms on scale or resources. The announcement of our selection generated industry attention that led to additional business development opportunities, while also establishing our credibility with prospects who had previously viewed us as too small or specialized for their requirements. The retail account's complexity required us to expand our team significantly, while also developing new systems and processes for managing larger-scale operations. We hired additional account managers, campaign specialists, and administrative support staff, while also investing in project management software and financial systems that could handle increased transaction volumes and reporting requirements. More importantly, the retail account's success established a template for the kind of strategic partnerships that would define Rodriguez Digital Solutions' future growth. Rather than simply executing campaigns based on client specifications, we became integrated partners in their strategic planning processes, contributing insights about market trends, consumer behavior, and competitive dynamics that inform decisions far beyond marketing communications. The family dynamics during this period of rapid business growth were characterized by a combination of pride and bewilderment that reflected the Blackwood family's limited understanding of the digital marketing industry and their assumptions about the scale of opportunities available to small business owners. David expressed genuine enthusiasm for my success, while also struggling to understand exactly what I was accomplishing and how it related to more familiar forms of business activity. Richard and Sarah Blackwood's responses to my business activities evolved from initial skepticism about the viability of independent consulting to grudging acknowledgement that I was earning substantial income from my efforts. However, their understanding of my work remained superficial, focused on financial results rather than the strategic capabilities and industry relationships that were actually driving our success. The disconnect between my actual accomplishments and my family's perception of those accomplishments created an interesting dynamic during family gatherings and social events. I learned to describe my work in general terms that avoided overwhelming family members with details they were not equipped to understand or appreciate, while also avoiding the appearance of boasting about success that they might view as inconsistent with appropriate family roles and relationships. This approach to managing family communications had the unintended consequence of reinforcing their assumptions about the modest scale of my business activities. By avoiding detailed discussions of major client wins, revenue growth, or strategic initiatives, I inadvertently contributed to their belief that Rodriguez Digital Solutions remained a small supplementary income source rather than a substantial business enterprise. The decision to maintain this level of discretion about my business success was motivated partly by respect for family harmony and partly by recognition that the Blackwood family's focus on traditional industries and conventional business models made them an inappropriate audience for celebrating achievements in digital marketing and technology services. Their lack of context for evaluating my work meant that detailed explanations often generated more confusion than understanding. However, this communication strategy also meant that when Richard eventually decided to intervene in my business affairs, his assessment was based on fundamental misunderstandings about both the current state of Rodriguez Digital Solutions and the industry dynamics that governed our competitive position. His assumptions about my need for outside management and oversight reflected his inability to recognize that our business had evolved far beyond the small consulting operation he had observed during its earliest stages. The irony of this situation was that Rodriguez Digital Solutions' success had been built on exactly the kind of strategic thinking, operational excellence, and relationship management skills that Richard valued in his own business activities. Our approach to client development, service delivery, and long-term partnership building reflected many of the same principles that had made Blackwood Construction successful in the commercial development industry. The difference was that our success had been achieved in an industry that Richard did not understand, using methods that were unfamiliar to him, and targeting client relationships that fell outside his professional network and experience. His inability to recognize the validity and sophistication of our approach led him to dismiss our achievements as lucky accidents, rather than the result of systematic effort and strategic planning. As I reflected on the journey that had brought Rodriguez Digital Solutions from a spare-bedroom startup to a multi-million-dollar enterprise, I realized that the conversation in Richard's office represented more than just a correction of his misconceptions about my business. It was an opportunity to establish a new foundation for our family relationships based on mutual respect and accurate understanding, rather than assumptions and stereotypes that had outlived whatever usefulness they might once have possessed. The success we had built was not an accident or a temporary aberration, but the result of deliberate choices about how to compete in a rapidly evolving industry where traditional approaches were often insufficient for achieving client objectives. Our competitive advantages had been developed through systematic investment in capabilities, relationships, and reputation that would continue to generate opportunities regardless of economic conditions or industry changes. More importantly, the business we had built reflected values and approaches that were entirely consistent with the work ethic and commitment to excellence that the Blackwood family claimed to value in their own professional activities. The disconnect between their stated values and their assessment of my work revealed more about their assumptions regarding women's capabilities and appropriate roles than it did about the actual quality or significance of what I had accomplished. The discovery of Richard's unauthorized information gathering prompted me to conduct my own comprehensive investigation into his activities and motivations, a process that would reveal the full scope of his campaign while also uncovering information about Blackwood Construction that fundamentally altered my understanding of the family business dynamics and Richard's true reasons for targeting my enterprise. The investigation began with a systematic review of all communications I had received from family members over the previous 12 months, searching for patterns that might indicate coordination or shared objectives in their questions about my business operations. The analysis revealed a clear progression from casual interest to focused intelligence gathering, with specific topics being explored repeatedly across multiple conversations and family gatherings. David's questions about my client relationships, which I had initially interpreted as supportive interest in my professional activities, followed a consistent pattern that suggested external direction or coaching. His inquiries about contract terms, renewal schedules, and client satisfaction levels were far more detailed and business-focused than his typical approach to discussing professional matters, indicating that someone with greater commercial sophistication was guiding his information-gathering efforts. Sarah Blackwood's conversations about my work-life balance and stress management had consistently included questions about my delegation strategies, staff capabilities, and backup plans for managing client relationships during personal emergencies. Her focus on these operational vulnerabilities was particularly troubling because it suggested advanced planning for scenarios where my personal involvement in business operations might be disrupted or compromised. The most revealing pattern emerged from Richard's own communications, which demonstrated a systematic progression from general business advice to specific recommendations about organizational structure, financial management, and strategic planning. His suggestions had become increasingly detailed and prescriptive over time, indicating that he was developing a comprehensive understanding of my operations while simultaneously preparing specific proposals for intervention. The investigation extended to Richard's professional network and business relationships, where I discovered that he had been making inquiries about the digital marketing industry that went far beyond casual curiosity about my success. His conversations with other business leaders had focused specifically on market consolidation trends, acquisition opportunities, and the challenges facing independent agencies competing against larger, more established firms. These industry discussions had provided Richard with external validation for his belief that small digital marketing agencies were inherently vulnerable to competitive pressure and operational challenges that could be addressed through professional management and financial resources. His confidence in his assessment of my business vulnerabilities was reinforced by conversations with people who shared his skepticism about the sustainability of independent operations in rapidly evolving technology markets. The most disturbing discovery was that Richard had retained a business valuation firm to conduct a preliminary assessment of Rodriguez Digital Solutions based on publicly available information and industry benchmarks. The valuation report, which I obtained through professional contacts who recognized the unusual nature of an unsolicited business assessment, estimated our enterprise value at approximately $8 million, while identifying several strategic vulnerabilities that could be addressed through merger or acquisition. The valuation firm's analysis had focused heavily on client concentration risk, operational dependence on key personnel, and competitive threats from larger agencies with superior resources and geographic reach. These concerns were legitimate business considerations, but the fact that Richard had commissioned this analysis without my knowledge indicated that he was developing a formal business case for intervention rather than simply offering family guidance and support. The valuation report included specific recommendations for improving operational efficiency and competitive positioning through professional management, expanded service capabilities, and strategic partnerships that would provide access to resources and expertise beyond what an independent agency could develop internally. The recommendations aligned precisely with Richard's previous suggestions about organizational changes and oversight structures, confirming that his advice had been based on professional analysis rather than casual observation. The discovery of the unauthorized valuation prompted me to engage my own business advisors to conduct a comprehensive assessment of Rodriguez Digital Solutions, including detailed analysis of our competitive position, growth prospects, and strategic options for maintaining independence while addressing legitimate operational challenges. The results of this analysis would prove crucial for responding effectively to Richard's subsequent takeover attempt. My advisor's assessment confirmed that Rodriguez Digital Solutions had achieved exceptional success in building client relationships and delivering results that exceeded industry benchmarks for agencies of comparable size and experience. Our client retention rates, profit margins, and growth trajectory were all substantially above average, indicating that our business model and operational approach were effective and sustainable rather than lucky or temporary. However, the analysis also identified several areas where strategic investment could strengthen our competitive position and reduce the vulnerabilities that Richard's valuation firm had highlighted. These opportunities included geographic expansion, service line diversification, and technology infrastructure improvements that would require capital investment and management attention, but would significantly enhance our long-term prospects. The most important finding was that Rodriguez Digital Solutions had multiple strategic options for addressing growth challenges and competitive threats without sacrificing independence or accepting outside management control. Our strong financial position, established client relationships, and proven track record provided leverage for negotiating strategic partnerships, securing growth capital, or pursuing acquisition opportunities that would enhance rather than diminish our autonomy. Armed with this independent assessment, I was able to develop a comprehensive response strategy that would address Richard's legitimate business concerns while firmly rejecting his assumption that external management was necessary for continued success. The strategy included specific proposals for addressing operational vulnerabilities, detailed financial projections supporting our growth plans, and alternative approaches to strategic development that preserved our independence while accelerating our expansion. The investigation also revealed important information about Blackwood Construction's current financial position and competitive challenges that provided context for understanding Richard's interest in diversifying the family's business portfolio. Recent industry reports indicated that commercial construction markets were experiencing increased competition and margin pressure that had affected many established firms, including several companies with similar profiles to Blackwood Construction. Richard's own business was facing challenges from newer competitors who were leveraging technology and innovative project management approaches to offer faster delivery and lower costs than traditional construction firms could match. These competitive pressures had reduced Blackwood Construction's growth rate and profitability over the previous 2 years, creating financial stress that Richard had not disclosed to family members. The discovery that Richard's business was experiencing difficulties while mine was achieving exceptional success provided crucial insight into his motivations for attempting to gain control over Rodriguez Digital Solutions. His interest in my enterprise was not simply paternal concern about my management capabilities, but strategic recognition that digital marketing represented a growth industry that could offset declining performance in commercial construction. This understanding fundamentally altered my perception of Richard's character and the family dynamics that had shaped our relationship over the previous 5 years. His portrayal of himself as a successful business leader, offering guidance to a struggling family member, was contradicted by evidence that his own enterprise was facing significant challenges, while mine was exceeding all performance expectations. The investigation revealed that Richard had been developing a comprehensive business plan for integrating Rodriguez Digital Solutions into a diversified family business portfolio that would reduce dependence on commercial construction while leveraging my company's growth prospects and client relationships. This plan included specific proposals for cross-selling construction services to my digital marketing clients and using my industry relationships to develop new business opportunities for Blackwood Construction. The integration plan assumed that combining our businesses would create synergies and competitive advantages that neither enterprise could achieve independently, while also providing financial stability and professional management that would ensure continued success for both operations. Richard's confidence in this strategy was based on his belief that his business experience and financial resources were more valuable than my industry expertise and client relationships. However, the plan also revealed fundamental misunderstandings about the digital marketing industry and the factors that drove client satisfaction and loyalty in professional services businesses. Richard's assumption that clients would value construction capabilities alongside digital marketing services ignored the specialized nature of our industry and the importance of maintaining focus on core competencies rather than attempting to become a generalized business services provider. The most concerning aspect of Richard's integration plan was his assumption that my role in the combined enterprise would be limited to operational execution, while strategic decisions would be made by people with broader business experience and greater financial resources. This approach would have eliminated my authority over the client relationships and strategic initiatives that had been responsible for our success, while subordinating my expertise to decision-makers who lacked understanding of our industry dynamics. The investigation confirmed that Richard's campaign against my independence was not motivated by genuine concern about my business management capabilities, but by strategic recognition that Rodriguez Digital Solutions represented valuable assets that could address his own company's competitive challenges. His portrayal of intervention as family assistance was actually a calculated attempt to acquire control over a successful enterprise that he could not replicate through his own efforts. This discovery prompted me to expand my investigation to include analysis of potential legal and financial implications if Richard succeeded in his takeover attempt. The review of relevant business law and family asset protection strategies revealed that my premarital establishment of Rodriguez Digital Solutions provided significant legal protections, but that ongoing family pressure and potential claims about shared resources could create complications that would require professional legal guidance to address effectively. The legal analysis confirmed that Richard had no legitimate claim to ownership or control over Rodriguez Digital Solutions, but that family relationships and potential disputes about shared resources or business support could create practical challenges that would require careful management. The importance of maintaining clear documentation about business independence and family financial boundaries became apparent as a crucial element of protecting my enterprise from future interference. The investigation also revealed the extent to which Richard had underestimated both the current value of Rodriguez Digital Solutions and its growth prospects in the rapidly expanding digital marketing industry. His assumptions about the challenges facing independent agencies were based on outdated information and traditional business models that did not reflect the competitive advantages that specialized expertise and client relationships provided in professional services markets. The comprehensive understanding of Richard's activities, motivations, and business situation that emerged from this investigation provided the foundation for developing an effective response strategy that would protect my business interests while maintaining appropriate family relationships. The evidence of his systematic campaign and unauthorized activities would prove crucial for establishing clear boundaries and consequences for future interference. More importantly, the investigation revealed that my success with Rodriguez Digital Solutions represented not just personal achievement, but validation of business strategies and competitive approaches that were superior to traditional models in the digital marketing industry. The strength of my position, both financially and strategically, provided confidence that I could maintain independence while continuing to grow and develop the enterprise according to my own vision and objectives. The emotional impact of discovering the full scope of Richard's campaign was significant, as it forced me to confront the reality that family relationships I had valued and trusted were being systematically exploited for business purposes that directly conflicted with my interests and autonomy. However, the investigation also provided clarity about the true nature of the challenges I faced and the resources available for addressing them effectively. The knowledge gained through this comprehensive investigation would prove invaluable during the confrontation in Richard's office, where his assumptions about my business vulnerabilities and his own superior position would be systematically dismantled. Through presentation of evidence that revealed the actual balance of power between our respective enterprises, the investigation had not only prepared me to defend my business, but had also provided the strategic intelligence necessary to fundamentally alter the dynamics of our family relationship. The documentation compiled during this investigation process would serve as the foundation for establishing new boundaries and expectations regarding family involvement in my business affairs, while also providing legal protection against future attempts to interfere with my professional independence and decision-making authority. The morning of my scheduled meeting with Richard arrived with an unusual clarity of purpose that had been absent from my previous interactions with the Blackwood family regarding business matters. The comprehensive investigation I had conducted over the preceding weeks had transformed my understanding of the situation from a family disagreement about business management to a calculated attempt to acquire control over a valuable enterprise through manipulation and psychological pressure. My preparation for the confrontation extended beyond simply organizing the client contracts and financial documents that would demonstrate the scale of Rodriguez Digital Solutions. I had also prepared detailed responses to the specific concerns that Richard was likely to raise about business sustainability, operational challenges, and competitive vulnerabilities, drawing upon the independent analysis my advisors had conducted to address each point with concrete evidence and strategic alternatives. The decision to bring comprehensive documentation to the meeting represented a fundamental shift in my approach to family discussions about business matters. Rather than continuing to minimize the scope of my success to avoid uncomfortable family dynamics, I would present the complete picture of what Rodriguez Digital Solutions had become and establish clear expectations about respect for my professional autonomy and decision-making authority. The drive to Blackwood Construction headquarters provided time for mental rehearsal of the key points I needed to communicate effectively, regardless of how Richard chose to frame his demands or justify his proposed intervention. The primary objective was not simply to reject his takeover attempt, but to establish a new foundation for our relationship based on accurate understanding of our respective business positions and mutual respect for professional independence. The familiar surroundings of Richard's office, which had previously represented his authority and success, now appeared as the setting for a confrontation that would fundamentally alter the balance of power between us. The awards, photographs, and architectural drawings that decorated the space would serve as backdrop for a conversation that would reveal the limitations of his traditional business experience when applied to industries and competitive dynamics he did not understand. Richard's demeanor as I entered his office reflected the confident expectation that this meeting would proceed according to his predetermined agenda, with my eventual acceptance of his management proposal representing the logical conclusion of months of preparation and family pressure. His arrangement of the prepared legal documents on his desk and his positioning behind the imposing oak surface demonstrated his assumption that formal authority and environmental intimidation would support his negotiating position. The opening moments of our conversation followed the predictable pattern that Richard had established in previous discussions about business matters, with expressions of concern about my welfare and appreciation for my entrepreneurial efforts, serving as diplomatic prelude to more direct criticism of my management capabilities and strategic planning. His tone conveyed the patient authority of someone who believed he was offering necessary assistance to a family member who had achieved modest success despite inadequate professional guidance. My response to his initial presentation about operational challenges and growth limitations was carefully measured to avoid the defensive reactions that might allow him to characterize my position as emotional rather than strategic. Instead of immediately rejecting his concerns, I acknowledged that business sustainability and competitive positioning were legitimate considerations that required ongoing attention and strategic planning by any successful enterprise. This approach appeared to encourage Richard's confidence in his assessment, as he proceeded to outline his specific recommendations for addressing the vulnerabilities he had identified through his unauthorized research and external consultation. His detailed knowledge of industry trends and competitive challenges demonstrated the thoroughness of his preparation, while also revealing the extent to which he had invested time and resources in developing his takeover strategy. The presentation of his proposed management structure and equity redistribution plan reflected months of legal and financial planning that had been conducted without my knowledge or input, confirming that this meeting represented the culmination of a systematic campaign rather than a spontaneous family intervention prompted by immediate concerns about my business performance. Richard's confidence in his proposal was particularly evident in his assumption that I would need time to review the legal documents and consult with advisors before making a final decision, suggesting that he viewed my eventual acceptance as inevitable. Once I understood the comprehensive nature of his planning and the resources he was prepared to invest in the restructured enterprise, the moment when I declined his offer to review the documents and instead requested permission to present my own analysis of the situation marked the beginning of a fundamental shift in our conversation dynamics. Richard's expression of surprise at my apparent readiness to respond immediately indicated that he had not anticipated prepared resistance to his carefully developed proposal. My decision to begin with a general overview of Rodriguez Digital Solutions' current market position and competitive advantages rather than immediately presenting the financial documentation, was strategic, designed to establish the business context necessary for understanding the significance of the specific client contracts and revenue figures that would follow. The explanation of our specialized expertise in emerging digital marketing channels and our reputation for delivering exceptional results in complex multi-channel campaigns provided foundation for understanding why established clients were willing to pay premium rates for our services and commit to long-term partnership agreements that extended far beyond simple vendor relationships. Richard's initial response to this contextual information reflected his assumption that my description of competitive advantages and client relationships represented optimistic interpretation of limited success rather than accurate assessment of substantial market position. His questions about client satisfaction and contract renewal rates suggested that he remained confident in his evaluation of my business as fundamentally vulnerable to competitive pressure and management challenges. The transition to presenting specific client contracts and financial performance data created the first visible crack in Richard's composure, as the scale of individual agreements exceeded his expectations about the revenue potential of digital marketing services for independent agencies. His examination of the contract terms and project scope descriptions revealed growing awareness that his assumptions about my business had been fundamentally incorrect. The presentation of our largest client relationships, with their multi-million-dollar annual values and sophisticated strategic partnership structures, systematically dismantled Richard's confident assessment of Rodriguez Digital Solutions as a small consulting operation that had achieved modest success through fortunate timing and limited competition. Each additional contract reinforced the evidence that our enterprise represented substantial market value and competitive strength, rather than vulnerability requiring outside management. Richard's physical reaction to reviewing the comprehensive client portfolio was immediate and unmistakable, as his confident posture dissolved into shocked recognition that the business he had been attempting to acquire control over was significantly larger and more valuable than his own construction company. The trembling in his hands as he examined the financial projections and performance metrics revealed the emotional impact of discovering that his assessment had been completely wrong. The silence that followed his review of the complete documentation stretched for several minutes as Richard struggled to process the implications of what he had learned for both his takeover proposal and his understanding of family business dynamics. The evidence before him demonstrated not only that his intervention was unnecessary, but that his own enterprise was the smaller and less successful operation in the comparison he had initiated. My explanation of the strategic planning and operational systems that supported our current success and future growth prospects addressed each of the concerns he had raised about business sustainability and competitive positioning, demonstrating that his worries about management challenges were based on outdated assumptions about the requirements for success in professional services industries. The discussion of our expansion plans, strategic partnerships, and technology investments revealed that Rodriguez Digital Solutions was already implementing the kind of sophisticated business strategies that Richard had assumed were beyond the capabilities of independent operators. Our approach to market development, client relationship management, and operational scaling reflected exactly the kind of strategic thinking that he claimed to value in successful business leadership. Richard's first attempt to respond to this revelation focused on questioning the sustainability of our current success and suggesting that rapid growth often creates challenges that require experienced management to address effectively. His inability to identify specific vulnerabilities in our operations or competitive threats to our market position revealed that his confidence in external management superiority was based on general principles rather than industry-specific knowledge. My response included detailed analysis of market trends, competitive dynamics, and regulatory developments that demonstrated comprehensive understanding of the factors affecting long-term success in digital marketing services. The sophistication of this analysis, supported by independent research and professional consultation, established that strategic planning and risk management were already integral components of our business operations. The revelation that I had been aware of his unauthorized information gathering and had conducted my own investigation into his activities and motivations created additional shock as Richard realized that his carefully concealed campaign had been discovered and analyzed. The evidence of his systematic approach to undermining my confidence and independence fundamentally altered the moral and ethical dimensions of our confrontation. The presentation of information about Blackwood Construction's current competitive challenges and declining performance metrics, gathered through the same professional networks that Richard had used to research my business, demonstrated that his motivation for seeking control over Rodriguez Digital Solutions was strategic rather than altruistic. His own enterprise was facing difficulties that my successful operation could potentially address through diversification and market expansion. This revelation completed the transformation of our conversation from a family discussion about business, assistance to a confrontation between competing enterprises with fundamentally different market positions and growth prospects. Richard's attempt to position himself as the experienced mentor offering guidance to a struggling family member was revealed as strategic misdirection designed to obscure his own vulnerabilities and acquire access to resources he could not develop independently. The emotional impact of these discoveries was evident in Richard's struggle to maintain his composure while processing information that contradicted everything he had believed about our respective business positions. His attempts to find alternative explanations for our success, or to identify hidden vulnerabilities that would justify his intervention, revealed his difficulty accepting that his assessment had been completely wrong. The final element of my presentation addressed the legal and ethical implications of his unauthorized activities, including client contact and information gathering that had violated professional boundaries and potentially damaged business relationships. The documentation of these activities, combined with evidence of his systematic campaign to undermine my authority, established clear grounds for demanding cessation of all interference in my business affairs. Richard's recognition that his actions could have serious consequences for his own reputation and business relationships added urgency to the need for resolving our conflict without escalation to legal proceedings or public disclosure of his inappropriate behavior. The potential damage to Blackwood Construction's market position and client relationships from revelation of his tactics provided leverage for ensuring future compliance with appropriate boundaries. The transformation in Richard's demeanor from confident authority to defensive uncertainty marked the completion of a power dynamic reversal that had begun with my decision to investigate his activities and prepare comprehensive responses to his intervention attempt. The evidence I had presented demonstrated not only that his takeover proposal was inappropriate, but that his entire approach to family business relationships was based on outdated assumptions about authority and expertise. The conversation that would follow this revelation of actual business positions and competitive strengths would determine whether Richard was capable of adapting to new information and revising his assumptions, or whether his attachment to traditional authority structures would prevent him from accepting the changed dynamics that my success had created within our family relationships. The moment of recognition in Richard's eyes, as he fully grasped the implications of what he had learned, represented more than simple surprise at discovering he had been wrong about my business capabilities. It marked the beginning of a fundamental reconsideration of family dynamics, professional relationships, and the assumptions that had governed his interactions with other family members for decades. The documentation spread across his desk provided irrefutable evidence that success in contemporary business environments required different capabilities and approaches than traditional industries had demanded, and that his expertise in construction management did not automatically translate into authority over other types of business enterprises. This recognition would prove crucial for establishing new patterns of interaction based on mutual respect rather than assumed hierarchy. The silence that followed Richard's examination of the client contracts stretched beyond mere surprise into what appeared to be a fundamental recalibration of his understanding of family dynamics, business success, and his own position within the constellation of enterprises that defined the Blackwood legacy. The trembling in his hands had subsided, but his complexion remained pale as he attempted to process information that contradicted every assumption upon which he had built his intervention strategy. The transformation in Richard's demeanor was profound and immediate. The confident authority that had characterized his approach to family business matters for decades had been replaced by obvious uncertainty about how to proceed when confronted, with evidence that his expertise and judgment had been completely wrong. His attempts to maintain composure were undermined by the visible effort required to reconcile his preconceptions with the reality of Rodriguez Digital Solutions market, position, and financial performance. My decision to allow Richard time to absorb the implications of what he had learned reflected strategic consideration of the psychological adjustment required when fundamental assumptions are proven incorrect. The magnitude of his miscalculation about my business capabilities and competitive position would require significant mental processing before productive conversation could resume about appropriate boundaries and future family interactions. The first indication that Richard was beginning to understand the broader implications of his error came when he asked quietly whether David was aware of the true scope of Rodriguez Digital Solutions' success and market value. His question revealed recognition that the family dynamics he had assumed were based on accurate assessment of everyone's contributions and capabilities had been distorted by incomplete information and unexamined prejudices about women's roles in business leadership. My explanation that David possessed general awareness of my business success, but had never requested detailed financial information or comprehensive analysis of our competitive position, seemed to surprise Richard, who had apparently assumed that married couples routinely shared comprehensive business intelligence. His assumption that David would naturally have access to detailed information about my enterprise revealed his expectation that family relationships should supersede professional confidentiality and independent decision-making authority. The revelation that I had deliberately maintained discretion about the specific details of my business operations to avoid family complications and preserve appropriate boundaries appeared to confuse Richard, whose experience with family business dynamics assumed that success should be shared and celebrated rather than managed privately. His difficulty understanding why someone would minimize their achievements in family settings revealed his fundamental misunderstanding of the challenges facing women in business environments where success can create unexpected social and professional complications. Richard's first attempt to respond constructively to the new information focused on expressing regret for his miscalculation and acknowledging that his proposal had been based on inaccurate assumptions about my business capabilities and market position. However, his apology was accompanied by questions about why I had not corrected his misconceptions earlier, suggesting that he viewed my discretion about business success as partially responsible for his inappropriate intervention attempt. This response revealed that Richard had not yet fully grasped the ethical implications of his systematic information gathering and unauthorized client contact, continuing to view his actions as reasonable efforts to understand family business activities rather than serious violations of professional boundaries and personal autonomy. His focus on my failure to provide information rather than his failure to respect appropriate limits demonstrated ongoing difficulty accepting responsibility for his inappropriate behavior. My explanation of the warning signs I had observed regarding his increasing interest in my business operations and the uncomfortable pattern of questions from family members provided context for understanding why his intervention attempt had not been entirely unexpected. The systematic nature of his information gathering had become apparent over several months, creating growing concern about his intentions and the potential need to establish firmer boundaries around family involvement in professional matters. The discussion of his unauthorized contact with my clients created the most significant emotional impact, as Richard began to understand that his actions could have caused serious damage to business relationships that represented years of careful development and substantial financial value. His recognition that client trust and professional reputation are fragile assets that require careful protection marked an important step in understanding why his behavior had been so problematic and potentially destructive. Richard's inquiry about whether his client contact had actually damaged any business relationships provided an opportunity to explain the broader implications of his actions for both my professional standing and the reputation of Rodriguez Digital Solutions within the digital marketing industry. The explanation that such behavior could be interpreted as evidence of internal management conflicts or family interference in business operations helped him understand why professional boundaries exist and why they must be respected regardless of family relationships. The conversation about appropriate family involvement in business matters revealed fundamental differences in our perspectives about independence, authority, and the responsibilities that accompany professional success. Richard's assumption that business achievements should be subject to family oversight and guidance reflected traditional models of family enterprise that were inappropriate for independent operations in contemporary professional services industries. My position that professional independence and family relationships could coexist without surrendering decision-making authority or accepting external management represented a different approach to balancing personal and professional commitments. The explanation that success in professional services required maintaining client confidence in management stability and strategic consistency helped Richard understand why external interference could be particularly damaging in industries where relationships and reputation were primary competitive advantages. The discussion of his investigation into Blackwood Construction's competitive challenges and financial performance created additional complexity in our conversation, as Richard realized that his business vulnerabilities had been discovered and analyzed through the same professional networks he had used to research my operations. His discomfort with having his enterprise subjected to external scrutiny provided valuable perspective on the inappropriateness of his unauthorized investigation into my business affairs. The revelation that Rodriguez Digital Solutions generated substantially more annual revenue than Blackwood Construction fundamentally altered the perceived hierarchy of family business success and challenged assumptions about seniority, expertise, and authority that had governed our interactions for years. Richard struggled to accept that his position as family patriarch did not automatically confer superior business judgment was evident in his attempts to find alternative explanations for our respective market positions. His suggestion that construction and digital marketing represented fundamentally different industries, with incomparable success metrics, revealed his ongoing difficulty. Accepting that my achievements were not merely fortunate timing in a favorable market, but the result of strategic planning, operational excellence, and competitive advantages that had been systematically developed over years of focused effort. The implication that my success was somehow less meaningful because it occurred in a different industry than his demonstrated continued resistance to acknowledging the validity of my expertise and judgment. My response addressed the fundamental business principles that apply across industries, including client relationship management, operational efficiency, strategic planning, and competitive positioning, while acknowledging that specific tactics and market dynamics vary significantly between construction and digital marketing. The explanation that success in any industry requires understanding market forces, delivering exceptional value to clients, and maintaining operational excellence helped establish common ground for evaluating business performance regardless of industry context. The discussion of strategic planning and risk management approaches revealed that Rodriguez Digital Solutions employed sophisticated business practices that were comparable to or superior to those used by Blackwood Construction, contradicting Richard's assumption that my success was achieved through informal or unsystematic approaches. The detailed explanation of our market analysis methodologies, client segmentation strategies, and competitive intelligence gathering demonstrated that our enterprise operated with the same level of professional rigor that characterized established companies in traditional industries. Richard's recognition that his own business planning could benefit from some of the analytical approaches and strategic frameworks that Rodriguez Digital Solutions employed marked a significant shift in his perception of our relative capabilities and expertise. His questions about market research techniques and competitive analysis methodologies indicated growing respect for the sophistication of our operations and acknowledgement that different industries could offer valuable insights for improving business performance across sectors. The conversation about future family business relationships required addressing both the immediate need to prevent further interference in my professional affairs and the longer-term challenge of establishing new patterns of interaction based on mutual respect and accurate understanding of everyone's contributions and capabilities. The establishment of clear boundaries and expectations would be essential for maintaining positive family relationships while protecting professional autonomy and decision-making authority. Richard's commitment to ceasing all unauthorized information gathering and external consultation about my business represented an important first step in establishing appropriate boundaries. But the broader challenge involved transforming family attitudes about women's capabilities and the legitimacy of independent professional success. The conversation revealed deep-seated assumptions about gender roles and family hierarchy that would require ongoing attention to address effectively. The discussion of how to communicate about the resolution of our conflict to other family members created additional complexity, as Richard's acknowledgement of his error would necessarily involve admitting that his assessment of my capabilities had been completely wrong and that his intervention attempt had been inappropriate. His concern about maintaining credibility with family members who had supported his proposal revealed ongoing difficulty accepting the personal consequences of his miscalculation. My willingness to allow Richard to frame the resolution in terms that preserved his dignity while establishing clear boundaries for future interactions demonstrated recognition that family relationships required balancing accountability with reconciliation. The agreement that future discussions about business matters would focus on mutual support and information sharing rather than advice or oversight represented a fundamental shift in our family dynamics toward greater respect for individual autonomy and professional expertise. The emotional impact of our conversation extended beyond the immediate business conflict to encompass broader questions about family relationships, professional identity, and the challenges facing successful women. In traditional family structures, Richard's acknowledgement that his assumptions about my capabilities had been influenced by unconscious biases about women's roles in business leadership marked an important step in personal growth that could improve not only our relationship, but his interactions with other professional women. The resolution of our immediate conflict provided an opportunity to establish new models for family business relationships that could accommodate independent success while maintaining supportive personal connections. The recognition that professional achievement and family harmony were not mutually exclusive required developing new approaches to communication and boundary management that respected individual autonomy while preserving beneficial aspects of family support and connection. Richard's request for guidance about how to rebuild trust and demonstrate respect for my professional independence indicated genuine commitment to repairing the damage caused by his inappropriate intervention attempt. His willingness to acknowledge error and accept responsibility for changing his approach to family business relationships represented the foundation for developing more positive and productive interactions in the future. The conversation concluded with agreement about specific steps for preventing future conflicts and establishing ongoing communication patterns that would support both professional independence and family relationships. The commitment to transparency about boundaries and expectations, combined with regular check-ins about how well new approaches were working, provided structure for maintaining accountability while allowing for adjustment as circumstances evolved. The transformation in Richard's understanding of my capabilities and market position represented more than simple correction of factual errors about business performance. It marked the beginning of a fundamental reconsideration of family dynamics, professional relationships, and the assumptions that had governed his interactions with successful family members for decades. The evidence I had presented challenged not only his assessment of my business, but his entire framework for understanding authority, expertise, and the factors that determine who deserves respect and decision-making autonomy in family and professional contexts. The immediate aftermath of my confrontation with Richard created unexpected complications that extended far beyond the resolution of his inappropriate takeover attempt, as news of the dramatic reversal in our family business dynamics began to circulate through the extended network of relationships that connected the Blackwood family to Denver's professional community and social circles. The first indication that word was spreading came through a phone call from David, whose confusion and concern about conversations he was having with colleagues at Blackwood Construction revealed that Richard's acknowledgement of his error was creating questions about family business relationships and the actual scale of Rodriguez Digital Solutions operations. David's colleagues had apparently heard fragments of information about significant contracts and unexpected revenue figures that contradicted their previous understanding of my business as a modest supplementary income source. David's emotional response to learning the complete details of what had transpired between Richard and me reflected not only surprise at the scale of my business success, but genuine hurt that I had not shared comprehensive information about Rodriguez Digital Solutions' growth and market position with him over the years we had been married. His feeling that our relationship should have included greater transparency about professional achievements created the first serious marital tension we had experienced regarding my business activities. The conversation with David about professional discretion and family communication revealed fundamental differences in our expectations about transparency and privacy within marriage that we had never addressed directly during the years when my business was smaller and less successful. His assumption that major professional achievements should be shared and celebrated within our marriage was understandable, but it failed to account for the complex dynamics that surrounded successful women in family business environments. My explanation of the deliberate choice to maintain professional discretion about specific business details was motivated by recognition that success often creates unexpected complications in family relationships, particularly when that success challenges traditional assumptions about gender roles and authority structures. The experience of watching other successful women navigate family dynamics had taught me that achievement could sometimes be interpreted as threatening or inappropriate rather than celebrated and supported. David's initial response focused on feeling excluded from an important aspect of my life and questioning whether my secrecy indicated lack of trust in our relationship or concern about his ability to handle information about my professional success appropriately. His interpretation of my discretion as evidence of relationship problems rather than strategic boundary management demonstrated the emotional complexity that successful women often face when trying to balance professional achievement with family harmony. The explanation that my discretion had been intended to protect both my business and our family relationships from complications that could arise when financial success created power imbalances or challenged traditional family hierarchies helped David understand that my actions had been motivated by consideration for family harmony rather than lack of confidence in our marriage. The recognition that women's professional success often creates different family dynamics than men's achievement marked an important step in his understanding of the challenges I had been managing. The broader family response to learning about Rodriguez Digital Solutions' actual market position and financial performance varied significantly among different family members, reflecting their individual relationships with traditional gender roles and their comfort with changes to established family hierarchies. Sarah Blackwood's reaction was particularly complex, as she struggled to reconcile her pride in my achievement with her concern about how my success might affect family dynamics and David's position within the traditional family business structure. Her questions about my plans for the business and whether I intended to expand operations in ways that might compete with or overshadow Blackwood Construction revealed anxiety about potential conflicts between family enterprises and the possibility that my success could create uncomfortable comparisons between different family members' professional achievements. Her suggestion that I should consider how my business activities might affect family harmony demonstrated ongoing investment in traditional approaches to managing family relationships that prioritized conflict avoidance over recognition of individual accomplishment. The response from Richard's professional network created additional complications as word spread through Denver's business community about the dramatic miscalculation regarding Rodriguez Digital Solutions' scale and market position. The revelation that an established business leader had attempted to acquire control over an enterprise that was actually larger and more successful than his own operation generated considerable industry interest and speculation about both companies' competitive positions and strategic prospects. The business community's reaction included genuine surprise at Rodriguez Digital Solutions' market success, as many professionals in traditional industries had limited understanding of the revenue potential and competitive dynamics that characterize digital marketing services. The recognition that independent agencies could achieve substantial scale and profitability challenged assumptions about industry structure and competitive requirements that many established business leaders had accepted without question. The attention from potential competitors and acquisition targets created new opportunities and challenges for Rodriguez Digital Solutions. As our market position and financial performance became subjects of industry analysis and strategic consideration by larger agencies seeking growth through acquisition or partnership, the increased visibility of our success required careful management to ensure that external interest did not create operational disruptions or client relationship complications. The most significant opportunity emerged through an inquiry from a major consulting firm that specialized in digital transformation services for Fortune 500 companies. Their interest in potential partnership or acquisition reflected recognition that Rodriguez Digital Solutions had developed specialized capabilities and client relationships that could enhance their service offerings and competitive position in rapidly growing markets. The initial discussions with the consulting firm revealed that our market reputation and track record of delivering exceptional results for sophisticated clients had positioned us as an attractive strategic asset for organizations seeking to expand their digital marketing capabilities without investing years in developing internal expertise and client relationships. The validation of our competitive advantages by external parties provided additional confirmation that Richard's assessment of our business vulnerabilities had been completely incorrect. However, the increased external interest also created pressure to make strategic decisions about growth and expansion that had not been urgent when Rodriguez Digital Solutions operated with greater privacy and discretion. The attention from potential partners and competitors required developing more sophisticated approaches to information management and strategic communication that would protect our competitive advantages while exploring beneficial opportunities for collaboration or expansion. The family meeting that Richard convened to address the broader implications of recent revelations provided an opportunity for comprehensive discussion about changed circumstances and appropriate adjustments to family business relationships and communication patterns. The gathering included extended family members who had varying levels of understanding about what had transpired and different perspectives about the appropriate response to discovering that family business dynamics had been based on inaccurate information. Richard's presentation to the family about his error in assessing my business capabilities and the inappropriate nature of his intervention attempt was carefully worded to acknowledge responsibility while minimizing details that might create additional complications or embarrassment. His focus on lessons learned and commitment to improved communication represented genuine effort to repair relationships while protecting his credibility and authority within the family structure. The family discussion revealed diverse perspectives about women's roles in business leadership and the appropriate balance between individual achievement and family harmony that reflected broader cultural tensions about gender equality and traditional family structures. Some family members expressed genuine pride in my success and recognition that their assumptions about my capabilities had been outdated and inappropriate. Others struggled with the implications of my achievement for established family hierarchies and expressed concern about how dramatic changes in perceived success and authority might affect family relationships and decision-making processes. Their discomfort with departures from traditional patterns demonstrated the ongoing challenges that successful women face in family environments, where achievement can be interpreted as threatening to established power structures. The conversation, about future family business relationships required addressing both practical considerations about communication and coordination between different enterprises and deeper questions about respect, authority, and the factors that determine influence within family decision-making processes. The establishment of new protocols for discussing business matters would be essential for preventing future conflicts while supporting both professional independence and beneficial family connections. The agreement to establish regular family, business updates that would provide appropriate transparency about major developments without compromising confidential information or decision-making autonomy represented an important step toward improved communication while maintaining necessary boundaries. The commitment to focus these discussions on mutual support and information sharing rather than advice or oversight reflected recognition that different family members possessed expertise in different areas that could benefit everyone without requiring surrender of independence or authority. The development of guidelines for external communication about family business matters addressed concerns about industry perception and competitive intelligence, while ensuring that family members understood the importance of maintaining appropriate discretion about sensitive business information. The recognition that casual comments about business activities could have strategic implications marked a significant improvement in understanding about professional requirements and competitive dynamics. The most challenging aspect of adjusting family relationships involved addressing underlying attitudes about gender roles and professional capability that had influenced interactions for years without being explicitly acknowledged or examined. The conversation about unconscious bias and its impact on family dynamics required careful navigation to promote understanding and growth without creating defensive reactions that could impede progress. Richard's acknowledgement that his assumptions about women's business capabilities had influenced his assessment of my enterprise marked an important step in personal development that could improve not only our relationship, but his interactions with other professional women in business and family contexts. His commitment to examining and revising outdated attitudes demonstrated genuine recognition that personal growth was necessary for maintaining positive relationships in changing social and professional environments. The discussion about supporting other family members' professional development and achievement, regardless of gender or industry background, established new expectations about encouragement and recognition that would benefit future generations and create more inclusive family cultures. The recognition that different types of success deserved equal respect and celebration represented a fundamental shift from traditional hierarchies based on industry familiarity and historical precedent. The family meeting concluded with agreement about specific steps for implementing improved communication patterns and maintaining accountability for respecting new boundaries and expectations. The commitment to regular evaluation of how well-adjusted approaches were working provided structure for ongoing refinement and improvement as family members gained experience with changed dynamics and relationships. The broader implications of these family changes extended beyond immediate relationships to encompass questions about business legacy, succession planning, and the integration of different enterprises and capabilities within an expanded definition of family business success. The recognition that the family's collective business interests now included substantial digital marketing capabilities alongside traditional construction services created opportunities for strategic coordination and mutual support that had not previously existed. The potential for beneficial business relationships between Rodriguez Digital Solutions and Blackwood Construction required careful consideration of appropriate boundaries and independence to ensure that family connections enhanced rather than complicated professional operations. The development of protocols for evaluating potential collaboration opportunities would be essential for maximizing benefits while protecting the autonomy and competitive advantages that had made both enterprises successful. The transformation of family business relationships from hierarchical oversight to collaborative partnership represented a fundamental change that would require ongoing attention and refinement as circumstances evolved and new challenges emerged. The foundation of mutual respect and accurate understanding that had been established through recent confrontations provided the basis for more productive and beneficial relationships that could support both individual achievement and collective family success. The personal growth that resulted from this process extended beyond business considerations to encompass improved self-advocacy, clearer boundary setting, and greater confidence in maintaining professional independence while preserving valuable personal relationships. The experience of successfully defending my enterprise against inappropriate interference while maintaining family connections demonstrated that achievement and autonomy were compatible with positive family relationships when those relationships were based on mutual respect and accurate understanding rather than outdated assumptions and traditional hierarchies. The increased visibility of Rodriguez Digital Solutions within Denver's business community following the resolution of the family conflict created unexpected opportunities for industry recognition and strategic partnerships that would fundamentally transform both the scale and scope of our operations. The attention generated by the dramatic revelation of our actual market position attracted interest from organizations that had previously been unaware of our capabilities and competitive advantages. The first significant opportunity emerged through an invitation to present at the Rocky Mountain Digital Marketing Summit, a prestigious industry conference that typically featured speakers from major agencies and technology companies with national reputations. The invitation represented recognition that Rodriguez Digital Solutions had achieved sufficient market credibility and thought leadership to warrant inclusion among the region's most respected digital marketing professionals. The conference presentation provided a platform for sharing insights about competitive strategies and market development approaches that had enabled our independent agency to compete successfully against larger, more established firms. The focus on strategic differentiation and specialized expertise resonated strongly with conference attendees who were struggling with similar challenges about positioning and competitive advantage in rapidly evolving digital marketing markets. The audience response to the presentation exceeded expectations, generating multiple requests for follow-up conversations about potential partnerships, client referrals, and collaborative opportunities that could benefit all parties involved. The recognition that other professionals valued our strategic approach and operational expertise provided external validation of the business model and competitive positioning that had driven our success. The most significant outcome of the conference presentation was an inquiry from Peterson Strategic Consulting, a management consulting firm that specialized in digital transformation initiatives for large corporations. Their interest in potential partnership reflected recognition that Rodriguez Digital Solutions possessed implementation capabilities and industry relationships that could enhance their service offerings while providing access to clients with substantial budgets and complex requirements. The initial discussions with Peterson Strategic revealed that their clients frequently required digital marketing support as part of comprehensive transformation initiatives, but that their internal capabilities were limited to strategic planning and organizational change management. The partnership opportunity would allow them to offer integrated services while providing Rodriguez Digital Solutions with access to Fortune 500 clients and multi-million-dollar project budgets. The strategic analysis of the Peterson partnership opportunity required careful consideration of potential benefits and risks associated with integrating our operations with a larger consulting firm while maintaining the independence and agility that had been crucial to our competitive success. The evaluation process involved detailed examination of their client relationships, project methodologies, and organizational culture to ensure compatibility with our values and operational approaches. The partnership structure that emerged from negotiations preserved Rodriguez Digital Solutions' independence, while creating formal mechanisms for collaboration on projects that required both strategic consulting and digital marketing implementation capabilities. The arrangement allowed us to maintain our existing client relationships and business development activities, while gaining access to larger opportunities that would have been difficult to pursue independently. The first collaborative project, with Peterson Strategic involved developing digital marketing strategies for a major retail corporation that was implementing comprehensive e-commerce transformation across multiple business units. The project scope included market analysis, competitive intelligence, customer segmentation, channel strategy development, and implementation of integrated marketing campaigns across digital and traditional media channels. The complexity and scale of the retail transformation project required Rodriguez Digital Solutions to expand our team significantly, while also developing new capabilities in areas such as enterprise-level analytics, multi-brand campaign coordination, and cross-functional project management. The investment in additional expertise and infrastructure represented a major commitment to supporting larger and more sophisticated client engagements. The successful execution of the retail transformation project generated exceptional results that exceeded client expectations and established new benchmarks for digital marketing performance within the retail industry. The campaign strategies we developed increased online sales by 63% in the first quarter, while improving customer acquisition costs and lifetime value metrics across all business units. The client satisfaction and measurable business impact achieved through the Peterson Strategic Partnership created additional opportunities for similar engagements with other Fortune 500 companies that were pursuing digital transformation initiatives. The track record of delivering exceptional results for complex, high-stakes projects positioned Rodriguez Digital Solutions as a preferred partner for enterprises requiring sophisticated digital marketing support. The expansion of our client base to include multiple Fortune 500 accounts necessitated significant organizational development and operational scaling that transformed Rodriguez Digital Solutions from a successful independent agency into a substantial enterprise with national market presence and industry recognition. The growth required systematic investment in talent acquisition, technology infrastructure, and operational systems that could support larger and more complex client relationships. The talent acquisition strategy focused on recruiting experienced professionals with specialized expertise in areas such as data analytics, marketing automation, content strategy, and account management for large enterprise clients. The emphasis on hiring senior-level talent rather than entry-level staff reflected our commitment to maintaining the quality and sophistication that Fortune 500 clients expected from their strategic partners. The technology infrastructure investments included implementation of enterprise-grade project management systems, advanced analytics platforms, and cybersecurity measures that met the rigorous requirements of large corporate clients. The operational systems development focused on standardizing processes and methodologies that could ensure consistent quality and efficiency across multiple simultaneous engagements. The organizational culture that evolved during this growth phase maintained the entrepreneurial spirit and client-focused approach that had characterized our earlier development, while incorporating the professional rigor and systematic excellence required for serving sophisticated enterprise clients. The balance between agility and structure represented a crucial element of our competitive advantage in markets, where both innovation and reliability were essential for success. The financial performance during this expansion period demonstrated that strategic growth could be achieved while maintaining the profitability and efficiency that had characterized our operations at smaller scale. The revenue growth trajectory reflected not only increased client volume, but also higher average project values and longer-term partnership arrangements that provided greater predictability and strategic planning opportunities. The industry recognition that accompanied our growth included multiple awards for campaign effectiveness, client satisfaction, and innovative marketing strategies that established Rodriguez Digital Solutions as a thought leader in digital marketing services. The external validation of our capabilities and achievements provided credibility that supported continued business development and competitive positioning efforts. The most prestigious recognition came through selection as Digital Marketing Agency of the Year by the Colorado Business Association, an award that acknowledged both our exceptional client results and our contribution to elevating the profile and capabilities of the state's digital marketing industry. The award ceremony provided an opportunity to share our success story and inspire other entrepreneurs pursuing similar goals in competitive professional services markets. The speaking opportunities that resulted from industry recognition allowed me to share insights about building successful independent agencies, competing against larger firms, and maintaining entrepreneurial culture while scaling operations to serve enterprise clients. The platform for thought leadership enhanced both personal and organizational reputation while contributing to broader industry knowledge about effective business strategies and operational approaches. The mentorship requests from other women entrepreneurs provided opportunities to support the development of female business leaders while sharing practical insights about navigating gender-related challenges in professional services industries. The recognition that my success could inspire and enable other women's achievements added meaningful purpose to business activities and reinforced commitment to excellence and integrity in all professional endeavors. The strategic planning process that guided our continued growth focused on identifying sustainable competitive advantages that could support long-term success in increasingly competitive markets. The analysis revealed that our combination of specialized expertise, enterprise, client relationships, and operational excellence positioned us uniquely within the digital marketing industry. The competitive advantages that emerged from our growth trajectory included deep industry knowledge across multiple sectors, proven methodologies for delivering exceptional results, and strong relationships with both clients and strategic partners that provided ongoing opportunities for business development and collaboration. The sustainable nature of these advantages reflected years of systematic investment in capabilities and relationships that could not be easily replicated by competitors. The long-term vision for Rodriguez Digital Solutions evolved to encompass becoming the premier independent digital marketing agency, serving Fortune 500 clients across multiple industries, while maintaining the entrepreneurial culture and operational excellence that had driven our initial success. The ambitious but achievable nature of this vision provided direction for strategic decision-making and resource allocation that would support continued growth and market leadership. The family business dynamics that had been transformed through earlier conflicts continued to evolve in positive directions as the success of Rodriguez Digital Solutions became increasingly visible within both industry and social contexts. The recognition and respect that accompanied our achievements created new foundations for family relationships based on mutual appreciation and shared pride in collective family business success. Richard's perspective on family business leadership evolved significantly as he observed the strategic thinking and operational excellence that characterized Rodriguez Digital Solutions' growth and market success. His acknowledgement that different industries required different approaches and that expertise should be respected regardless of traditional hierarchies marked important personal growth that improved relationships throughout the extended family network. The collaboration opportunities that emerged between Rodriguez Digital Solutions and Blackwood Construction reflected the potential for family business synergies when relationships were based on mutual respect and complementary capabilities, rather than competition or hierarchy. The strategic coordination between our enterprises enhanced both companies' competitive positions while preserving the independence and autonomy that had been crucial to each organization's success. The personal satisfaction that resulted from building a successful enterprise while maintaining important family relationships provided ongoing motivation for continued excellence and growth. The recognition that professional achievement and personal fulfillment could be pursued simultaneously, without compromising either objective reinforced commitment to values-based business practices and relationship management approaches. The broader impact of our success story extended beyond immediate business and family considerations to encompass inspiration for other women entrepreneurs and contribution to changing perceptions about female business leadership capabilities. The visibility of our achievements provided evidence that women could build substantial enterprises in competitive industries while maintaining integrity and values-based approaches to business relationships. The speaking engagements and media interviews that accompanied industry recognition created platforms for sharing insights about entrepreneurship, strategic thinking, and operational excellence that could benefit other business leaders regardless of gender or industry background. The opportunity to contribute to broader business knowledge and inspire others' success added meaningful purpose to professional activities and reinforced commitment to continued learning and development. The foundation for future growth that had been established through systematic capability development, strategic relationship building, and operational excellence provided confidence that Rodriguez Digital Solutions could continue expanding its market presence and impact while maintaining the quality and integrity that had characterized our journey from startup to industry leadership. The sustainable competitive advantages and strong market position created opportunities for continued innovation and success that would benefit clients, employees, and stakeholders for years to come. The strategic evolution of Rodriguez Digital Solutions during the 18 months following our industry recognition required fundamental transformation of organizational structure, operational systems, and market positioning to support sustainable growth while maintaining the competitive advantages that had distinguished our enterprise from larger, more established agencies. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.